commenter asked me to watch this video about the character Harold Daggett, who's the Longshoreman Union leader they say is heading up the port strike. In this person's video, he says that he also believes there is a Freemasonic association with this union. And this is the video down, or dock worker strike disturbing logo appears. It's in Minutes of Horror channel. And in my last couple of videos, I showed that the International Longshoremen's Association poster has the Masonic handshake and the British flag. And here it is. Regarding the British flag, this is just a reminder that Freemasonry is headed up by the Grand Lodge of England, which is under their monarch, currently King Charles III, and this is their heraldry. Those are winged hairy goat gods, which go by many names. In this video, I'm going to get more specific about the associations, which can be a bit confusing by design, and not a new design either. The associations of this Longshoreman Union. So in this channel's video, he's pointing out that the patch that this Harold Daggett is wearing on his shirt, and he's trying to figure out if it's Freemasonic, because it looks kind of like a square and compass, you see, in this patch. So it definitely says USS Bigelow, which is a naval ship. So he's wearing a Navy-type patch with a square and compass, and he's wearing it for a public appearance. This is not the same patch he has, but his patch says USS Bigelow, and that is a square and compass that he has on his patch. But that one looks like the square and compass for the Army Corps of Engineers. This one. So what does the Longshoremen's Union have to do with the Army Corps of Engineers, the US-UK Navy, and the Freemasons? So first let's look at the US-UK Navy. So the Longshoremen's Union would be part of the Merchant Navy or the Merchant Marines, which is associated to the fleet of merchant vessels that are registered in a specific country. Merchant vessels. So on merchant vessels, seafarers of various ranks and members of maritime trade unions, which is what the Longshoremen's Association is. It's a maritime trade union, which sits under the Merchant Navy. So in the category of maritime trade unions, you have port workers trade unions, right here. And under the category of port workers trade unions, you have international longshore and warehouse unions, and then you have this International Brotherhood of Longshoremen and the International Longshoremen's Association. So it's a maritime trade union, a port worker trade union, and when you select this International Brotherhood of Longshoremen's Association, that's where you come up with the ILA, which this guy is the member of, which is this poster right here. The International Brotherhood of Longshoremen, or the ILA. So this is the North American Labor Union representing longshore workers along Canada, the Gulf Coast, the Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, and inland waterways. So this is the one we're talking about. Okay, so it's an international brotherhood. So there's your tie to Freemasonry, which is about what? A brotherhood. So regarding this relation to the Merchant Navy, who this union sits under, which we just showed, King George V is the one who bestowed the title of Merchant Navy, and it was bestowed on the British merchant shipping fleets following their service in World War I. But in the U.S., that branch is called the Merchant Marines. So the U.S. Merchant Marines consists of the nation's civilian owner merchant ships and government-owned ships and crew, including cargo ships. The people of the Merchant Marine are called merchant mariners and civilians, except in times of war, when in accordance with the Merchant Marine Act of 1936, they are considered military personnel in times of war, but other times they're civilians. It also says there are 700 ships owned by American interests but registered in other countries. So what does this have to do with the Army Corps of Engineers, like the one I said the square and compass Harold Daggett's patch looked like, the symbol for? Well, the Army Corps of Engineers sits directly under the U.S. Merchant Marines. Let's see if I can find that. So, Merchant Navy and Merchant Marines are synonymous because in the U.S. it's called the Merchant Marines, and if you come down here to the U.S., you can see that the Army Corps of Engineers is under that. Also the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and some other things. Sorry about that. Also the Department of Homeland Security is under the U.S. Merchant Marines. So there it is, the Army Corps of Engineers. It says the Army Corps of Engineers workforce is 97% civilian. Civilian workforce is primarily located in the U.S., Europe, and the Middle East. It says military engineering is the art, the art, science, and practice of designing and building military works and maintaining lines of military transport and military communications. Military engineers are also responsible for the logistics behind military tactics. Military supply chain management is a cross-functional approach in procuring, producing, and delivering products and services for military material applications. That supply chain includes sub-suppliers, suppliers, internal information, and funds flow. So this one situation with this longshoremen's union strike, you have the following connections. You have a New Jersey Teamster with mob affiliations who's been indicted and acquitted at least twice, who makes $1 million a year on salary, and that's just on paper. The U.S.-UK Navy through Merchant Marines, who sits atop the International Brotherhood of Longshoremen, port workers on the East Coast, which is the union. And the Merchant Marines originating in the UK with King George V during wartime, and it's still sitting under the UK, given the fact that it's a brotherhood under the Grand Lodge of England. Again, here's their coat of arms. Those are winged hairy goat gods. They go by many names. Thanks for listening.